Greetings, friends. My name is Samariel Hastur. I am the creator and showrunner here at the Uncanny Productions. I am the main writer for the Frankenfiles, and 2024 is officially dead. We are standing over its corpse, and I thought now would be a great time to just kind of go through it and go through the different Frankenstein books, movies, and things that I've gotten to take part in this past year, and just kind of go over them, do sort of a FrankenState of the Union, if you would. I don't know if I will, but I've said it now, so let's see how this goes. Cheers to 2024. Let's dive in. So I'm starting this list off with The Lady and Her Monsters by Roseanne Montijo, partially because I know I read that book at the beginning of January last year. At the time I was working an event where I had a lot of downtime, and so I was able to read through that book, and it is phenomenal. It is a real comprehensive guide to both like the history of the science at the time. Like it starts with Galvini and then like goes through just sort of the evolution of that electrified applied science. It goes through like all the different experiments that were going on, as well as like different hoaxes that people use that science to get away with. Some really fascinating stories, and then leads into Mary Shelley's life, both like starting from her parents meeting, Mary Wollstonecraft and her father William Godwin, and how like they met, and how that like would have shaped Mary's life, and all the different events that happened in her life, and meeting Percy and going through her whole life, and leading through like here's what happened at Via Diodati. And it's a really good book, a phenomenal just like encapsulating experience to just really give context to this is where Mary came from, this is why this was what was going on in the ether, and this is likely why like she had all these ideas that would have led to making Frankenstein. And it's a phenomenal book. I learned so much from that book. Like the first half isn't even about Mary Shelley. Like you spend the most time going through the science of the era, which is fascinating. I really loved it. So if you are interested at all in just like the history of where did this idea, like this kind of scientific idea, even start from, heartily recommend. It's so good. I really enjoyed it. This book is fantastic. Like it's so good. I loved it. The other one that I read this year, this was actually a Christmas gift that I got given in 2023, but I didn't manage to get around to reading it until this year. It's Destroyer by Victor LaValle. A fascinating book, really good. It's a graphic novel. It is the story of a young man, like I think he's like 12, so a young black boy gets shot by the police for no reason, because cops are cops, racism. And so this kid's mother is, as you read it, you learn she is a direct descendant of Victor Frankenstein, but she's a brilliant scientist, and she's currently working on some sort of technology for this secret corporation, and she uses that technology to bring her son back to life. And it's fantastic, because there's also sort of this additional story thread of the Frankenstein monster is still alive, and he is the destroyer, and he comes back and cares nothing for anyone, and just obliterating people in his path. And it's a really interesting story. I definitely need to read it again. It's been a while since I read it, so I hesitate to give like a full proper book review of it. I really loved it. It was very complicated, like the relationships that are there. And about like sacrificing, like what would you sacrifice for your family, for the people you love, which I think is absolutely like a huge theme in a lot of Frankenstein stories like that. What would you do for your family? The family element is like part 3 of our sort of formula that we use for the Frankenfiles. So like we'll likely do an episode on the Destroyer, I think that would be really lovely. I feel like I absolutely will need to read it again, as well as I would like to speak with some other minds in the area, just because, like, as a white person, I feel like I'm not fully qualified to discuss everything about that book, but it is very, very good. And I know, I remember I had like some kind of qualms about the ending, just because I remember feeling like a little unsatisfied, and I feel like I would love to talk that through with somebody who's a little more well-versed than I. But great graphic novel, very interesting, lovely piece of work. I really enjoyed it. The next one on my list here, I haven't taken a sip of my drink yet, so I'm drinking. You know me. Let's keep reading. This one was really interesting. I only found out about it because I found it, well, where did I find it? It popped up as like an Instagram recommended thing to me. It is, so there's a comic book series called The Oddly Pedestrian Life of Christopher Chaos. Mind you, I don't know a thing about this comic book series. I did not read the full series. I wasn't gonna buy it because it's still in single issues. They haven't released like a trade paperback for it yet. And so I wasn't gonna buy all of the issues because I was only after issues 7 and 8, because they did sort of a mini Frankenstein arc called The Monstrous Life of Adam Frankenstein, where Adam, the Frankenstein monster, is at a typewriter. I think it's set in like the 20s, and it's him looking back at his creation and kind of like, it's him finally getting to tell his story of what happened, of what Victor did. And it's really interesting. I really liked it. Yeah, I thought it brought forth, it made turns that I didn't quite anticipate. But like, it was pulling things from the original story that are like absolutely rife for expounding on. And the author, oh gosh, I didn't write down the author for this one. On screen. The writers of this clearly, like, they got like something in their heads about this story and were like, I need to write about this. And the way they pulled it forward is great. It's a really interesting take on Victor in a way that, like, sometimes when people get caught up in the Victor is a madman obsession, I get really annoyed because I feel like they focus on the wrong thing. This one delivered. This was a really interesting look at Victor and the way, like, his obsession was so, like, singular. And it's also one of the few, I always love it when, like, Victor likes the monster, like when Victor, like, is accepting, at least at first, and then kind of going, okay, well then how did we get to the point where he's, you know, rejecting him? Because that always happens, and it does, and the way they did it was awesome. And the way it's just like Victor's single-mindedness turning to projection on the monster, delicious. It was beautiful. It was sexy in a way that I don't. Frankenstein is not a sexy story, despite what Kenneth Branagh might have you believe. But so normally when, like, people make Frankenstein kind of horny, I get a little like, all right. But this actually, like, pulled it off in a way that I'm like, no, that's interesting. That's good. That's complicated. I like that. I like it when it gets complicated. So yeah, Oddly Pedestrian Life of Christopher Chaos, issues 7 and 8. I have no idea what the context is. It ends with, like, some kind of a reveal of, here's these guys, and they're gonna help Victor Frankenstein. No idea who those guys were. I'm not gonna find out. I'm sorry. Unless you bring my boy back. So, you know, please bring my boy back and I'll jump back in. Other things that I read this year. Oh, I got to finally read Junji Ito's Frankenstein, which was really cool. I've never read anything by Junji Ito, I don't believe. I feel like I would remember if I had. Famous Japanese horror manga writer. I know there's a lot with spirals, and I know there's a whole bit about people-shaped holes in walls, and everyone's like, that hole was made for me, and that's it. That's all I know. But this version of Frankenstein, it's beautiful, first off. Beautiful version of Frankenstein, as well as, like, it's pretty much just Frankenstein. But there are little, like, twinges here and there of, like, the author kind of really coming through and kind of, like, because obviously you're not gonna just do the whole novel, especially as a graphic novel. And so, like, the ways that, like, certain things get, like, compounded, and the ways that certain elements got pulled through, really quite stunning. Okay, so I'm currently working on, surprise, I'm currently working on a video essay about portrayals of the bride, which has a whole sort of diatribe in the middle of it about Justine, and about why people use Justine's body for the female monster, for the character colloquially known as the bride. And normally I get really annoyed with it, just because it's, I don't know, people either do it as a very, like, we have this body, let's just use it. They don't tap into anything interesting about using Justine. She's literally just used for parts. And Victor often doesn't even reflect, like, this is a person I knew very well. And so, like, it's like, well, then why did you even bother? Junji Ito's Frankenstein. He's literally, when he's doing the, like, you're going to make me a mate, he, like, but, like, he holds out Justine's head and he's like, look, I got parts for you, get started. And it's like, oh, that's good. That's good. I like it when you do that. I like it when there's, like, reason. I like it when it has, like, depth to it. So that was really good. I really, really liked that. Last but not least, and the only one that I actually have a physical representation of, because I don't know if you saw, if you follow our social media on our Instagram or on our Twitter or at our website, theuncannyproductions.com, you might have seen we're in the middle of a move. This is not my house. So everything that I have is in boxes. I literally managed to put together a whole box in and of itself that was just all of my Frankenstein books and movies and such. I left out only a couple of them because I really loved this play, and I'm planning on doing a proper book review of it to write up. So this is Playing with Fire After Frankenstein by Barbara Field. It's from 89, I believe? Yeah, 1989. I forget even how I heard about this play. I think I lurk, I don't know if I lurk, I do actively post in the Frankenstein subreddit. And I think somebody mentioned this show and I was like, I have not heard of this. What is this play? And so I bought a copy off of the internet of the script just to, like, read it and see what it's like. And the answer is gorgeous. This play is fantastic. It is truly beautiful. It's a really interesting. So the sort of story here is, it takes place, like, during the novel of Frankenstein, sort of, where Victor is chasing the monster. Like, we're at the end. We start at the end of Frankenstein. Victor is chasing the monster in the Arctic. He is exhausted. He is dying, and they sort of catch each other at the North Pole. So they are at the place where the sun does not set, and so they decide for a day to stop hunting each other and just have it out with each other. They're just gonna ask each other questions and say their side of the story, and it's really interesting because the way it's staged is like, as, like, Victor is explaining himself, like, his memories kind of play out on stage, and because he's dying and becoming delirious, he starts, like, getting involved with his own memories and, like, getting caught up in them all over again. So, like, he's talking about the creation scene and he's seeing himself in the past, like, get everything ready, and he starts being like, talking to himself, being like, have you forgotten about this? Have you got this thing? Like, and he fully, like, gets reinvested in his own memory, and it's beautiful. It's so fascinating. This script is genuinely having me debate if I want to see about putting on a play somewhere. Like trying to get in touch with some of my local theaters and seeing like, hey, would y'all have any interest in having a producer and or director just kind of descending out of nowhere and trying to put on a play? Because I want to see this somewhere, and I don't know of anywhere that is currently putting it on, so I'm just gonna have to make it happen. But no, it's stunning. It's really quite gorgeous. I'll do, like I said, I'm planning on doing a proper proper book review of it to really go in depth about the things that I like about it. But it's just a gorgeous piece of work. Barbara Field really, because she has a little introduction here, and she was like, what is the scene that is missing from Frankenstein? That's what I'm going to write. And I think she absolutely nailed it. Like, if I didn't already love the regular ending of Frankenstein, this would be a perfect fit. Like, it's so good. There's so much in here that I could just talk about. This play really understands Frankenstein, and I love it. I've had no bad entries so far. Like, not that I anticipated things being bad, but, you know, every so often you get a clunker in there, you get a Frankenstein Unleashed in there, and it can throw off the whole batch. But no, phenomenal books this year. I don't know how I'm gonna top this many books, but I'm gonna have to, because I loved them. I loved them. Great books this year. And they really offset the movies, which, in fairness, the movies are not terrible. They just weren't all what I wanted this year. Another sip. So the movies of 2024 that I saw this year, I know technically this came out December 2023, but I'm putting it at the top of my 2024 list because I can. You're not in control of me. So, Poor Things. We gotta talk about Poor Things. Poor Things by Yorgos Lanthimos. I'm sure most of you have forgotten it by now. I feel like things fall out of the zeitgeist pretty quickly, especially when it comes to things like movies. I know there was a lot of talk of it at the beginning of the year about, you know, the whole Born Sexy Yesterday, which it is. It is very much that. When trailers of this movie first started coming out, I had so many people message it to me being like, oh hey, this looks interesting, this looks cool. And it did, being so mean about it, and I haven't even gotten into it. I was gonna say it did look cool. And in fairness, it does. Like, the visuals of that movie are really, really nice. Like, the cinematography, the design, the style, all phenomenal. Unfortunately, I think I did not enjoy it as a Frankenstein story, which is fine. It wasn't necessarily trying to be a Frankenstein story. I feel like I always lose my train of thought with Poor Thing because there's so many things going on with it, and I don't think I understood all/most of it. Because I feel like I got lost in the sauce of horny baby woman, which was a lot, which was most of the movie, which was not what I wanted. I was really interested in this movie because I think the bride character is interesting, and I was very excited to see a character like Bella, who was essentially the bride, but without a monster to be compared to, because I feel like that is one of the great pitfalls of the bride. Like, she's literally called the bride. Everything about her is dependent on her relationship to a man. And I was very curious to, like, okay, what's it gonna be in this kind of situation where, like, there is no man to compare her to. And I don't know. It certainly didn't deliver on that point because I don't think it was trying to. I don't think it had Frankenstein in mind, really. But yeah, horny baby woman. And I know there were like things where it's like, oh, it was like subverting the Born Sexy Yesterday, and I'm like, I don't think it did. I think it tried at a couple of points, at a few very specific points, but overall, I don't think it subverted Born Sexy Yesterday. I think it was pretty head on, which is disappointing as hell. Yeah, no, there was a lot I wanted from Poor Things that I was not going to get. Feminism is when girls have sex, I guess. I don't know. That's simplistic and probably not a fair critique. I didn't like it. Like, it was fine. It was beautiful. It was well constructed, well made, well acted. But I don't think I got its point. Frankly, I don't think I want to get its point. So, Poor Things. It happened. I saw it. Live, laugh, lobotomy. Next down the list, oh, actually, I said I only had the one physical prop. I lied. I got this also as a Christmas present, because we're talking about Lisa Frankenstein. It came out in February this past year. I went and saw it on a Valentine's Day date, and it was fantastic. I loved it. It's so fun. Catherine Newton and Cole Sprouse absolutely deliver. This is directed by Zelda Williams. It was Zelda Williams' directorial debut, and honestly, I think she rocked it. Like, it's so stylish, it's so fascinating. It's like, this had a vision, and it executed it perfectly, and I loved it. Every second was just so fun and crazy, and just like, this is camp. Like, this is camp as hell, and I loved it. I loved every second. Honestly, my main critique isn't even really a critique about the movie itself, but unfortunately, this is not a Frankenstein movie. It's like, I genuinely don't think we can do an episode of the Frankenfiles about it, because I don't think it qualifies. I don't think it's, maybe if I like think about it and ponder it a little bit more, I might do so, but this was not a movie about a girl. I mean, it is a movie about a girl stitching a guy together, but like, she didn't make him. He just kind of he literally just kind of appears, and she helps improve him, essentially. And it's so fun. It's such a good movie. I really enjoyed it. I like it for what it is. It's just, yeah, it's not a Frankenstein movie, which I was like kind of surprised about. Like, with a name like Lisa Frankenstein, like, I totally thought we were gonna get it, but it did not. I want more female mad scientists. I just think we deserve it. I think, and in fairness, this was, because I was about to say, I want more crazy girls to go off, and this is absolutely a crazy girl goes off. But I would love like an actual like Frankenstein movie. But this movie is still fantastic. I now have it on Blu-ray Collector's Edition, and I'm very excited about that. I keep all of my Frankenstein media on a separate shelf from my regular DVD collection, and I'm now kind of going, oh, do I need to put this with my collection, or does it go in my regular box? I'll worry about that when I actually have shelves to put things on again. So, future me's decision. Next on the list, oh, I loved this movie. Frankenstein, The True Story. It's from 1973, directed by Jack Smite. Fantastic name. This movie is 3 hours long. It was made for TV, I believe, and so it was meant to be like 2 TV movies back to back. And I was so pleasantly surprised at how good it was. Because one, TV movies, you take what you can get, the mileage may vary. But like it was actually like a really interesting, first an interesting take on Henry, very interesting take on Henry, as well as Victor. Like it was really interesting to see Victor being the sane one of the duo, because the way it plays it is it's Henry is this like mad, he is the mad scientist that like he's brilliant, he's genius, and Victor kind of like happens upon him. No, Victor starts working at the same hospital that he does, and he's a friggin' lunatic, and everyone's kind of like off put by him because he's weird and he's crazy, and he's got like a deformed arm or something like that, I think. And Victor sees right through that, and he sees the pure genius of Henry, and he wants to help him and support him and whatnot. And Henry's like, well, hey, you want to support something else I got going on? And it turns into this whole, like, Henry's the one who is making the monster, and he dies suddenly during the preparation. And Victor's like, I will finish this for you, Henry, my beloved friend. And he makes the monster, and the monster, I watched this movie with friends, and we were all delighted by it, because what happens is the monster comes out and is beautiful, and like that is one of the first things that Victor says to it. He said, like, and to the point where the monster thinks his name is beautiful. And like there's scenes where he literally like Victor is like, oh, so please let me introduce you to this Duchess, and it's like, this is Duchess, and the monster goes, beautiful, thinking he is introducing himself, but the Duchess is like, oh, you flatter me, and it's like, we loved Beautiful. Beautiful in this movie is so good, but as time goes on, the monster starts becoming more monsterish. Like he starts getting this like pronounced kind of brow bone. He starts becoming a little more caveman-y. He becomes a little more monstrous. And he stops being beautiful. But he will always be beautiful. No, we loved Beautiful. It was a really cool take on Frankenstein that I really enjoyed. We did wind up turning it into a drinking game because it's from the 70s, and there were a couple of moments where we were like, oh, mannequin, drink for mannequin. There's a point where Beautiful throws himself off a huge cliff, but it's literally like a James Bond movie where like you see him running towards the cliff, and then it like cuts to someone following going like, no, and then you just see this ragdoll plummet for like a mile. Oh, it's ridiculous, but it's so fun. I had never heard of this movie until I saw the Cobwebs channel's top 15 best Frankenstein movies, and there were a number of them that I had seen, but there were a number that I hadn't, and I was like, oh, okay, this sounds fascinating. I'm gonna order that off of the internet, and I was able to like find a DVD of it, but like no one I'd ever like spoken to, any of my fellow Frankenstein scholars, none of them had really like heard of it. And then the other day, I like a week ago, I was in an FYE going through their DVD collection because I always like collecting more movies, and they had it on DVD, and I couldn't believe it, the fact that it was like there in public, that anyone could find it. Like I had to go searching for it, but hey, I love that. I love that for the world. I love that for us. If you got 3 hours, buckle up. But such a fun film. Heartily recommend. I also feel the need to do an honorable mention here for the 1974 film Phantom of the Paradise. Not at all a Frankenstein movie. It's actually Phantom of the Opera meets Faust, and it's as a rock opera, and it's stunning, and it's beautiful, and it's genuinely one of my favorite movies. But I do want to give an honorable mention to a sequence in this movie, because this is a rock opera essentially about rock operas, and there's a sequence where the rock opera that everyone is there to see, there's a sequence where this like group comes out and they sing a song called Somebody Super Like You. It's this group who are like, we need a hero, we need a symbol, we need an icon. And he needs to have all of these specific attributes, because he needs to, you know, have a silhouette that's incredible. He needs to be strong, but he needs to be kind, and he needs to have a nose that is simply divine. And so they start going through the audience and like cutting off people's arms. It's like all for show, like it's all special effects and whatnot. But so they're like going through the audience, and they're like cutting off people's arms and their heads and their legs, and they're getting all of the best parts so they can put them together to make this incredible superhero for them, the person who will be their leader and their champion. And that leads into genuinely one of my favorite songs. I think it managed to be in my top 10 on Spotify. It's called Life at Last. And I genuinely thought about doing a whole memento memorandum just about that song, and I honestly still might. But they sew all of these legs and arms and stuff together, and they make their hero, and he comes out, and it's so good. He comes out and he's like, because the line is, "Don't you realize that all of you donated something horrible you hated that was part of you? I'm your nightmare coming true. I am your crime." And it's so cool. Like, first off, it's a phenomenal like rock opera moment, and the character who sings it, Beef, Beef. I love Beef. And he's putting his whole pussy into this song. But like, it's also like, every time he sings like these like really like harrowing lines, like the story that this is telling, you just kind of experience it as a moment during the movie. But like, it's when I like sat down and was like listening to the soundtrack, I was like, oh wow, oh my, oh god, oh wow, all this cutting up is easy, and it isn't for the queasy or the weak apart. You had better start for home while there's still time. It's so good. So yeah, Phantom of the Paradise. I would honestly say, if you enjoy movies such as like the Rocky Horror Picture Show, if you ever wanted a rock opera version of the Phantom of the Opera but with the devil involved, have I got the movie for you. If you've ever wanted to see the Beach Boys get blown up, have I got the movie for you. If you've ever wanted to see a man go absolutely crazy to get his intellectual property back, if you ever want to see a man go absolutely crazy trying to get his intellectual property back so he blew up the Beach Boys, have I got the movie for you. And then rounding out the list, because this does technically count, I did watch it this past year, Frankenstein General Hospital. This is a movie from 1988. It's directed by Deborah Roberts. I think in the vein of a young Frankenstein, but I would say like a little less like clever. I feel like Young Frankenstein is pretty clever. Less clever, full frontal. If there was like a young Frankenstein, but in like a hospital drama format, again with full frontal, and Leslie Jordan is there as the sort of Igor character. It's very cute, it's very fun, very horny film. It's fun. It's not great, but it is fun. Like that, I would heartily recommend it as like a let's get drunk and watch a bad movie kind of a viewing experience. But it is fun. I did enjoy it more than I thought I was gonna. Not much else to say about that. It's not a movie worth talking about, really. It's it exists. It is a movie. That's for movies. Then we get to movies we are anticipating. One of which is Maggie Gyllenhaal's The Bride. Maggie Gyllenhaal is working on a sort of remake of The Bride. I haven't been able to figure out if it's meant as a remake of The Bride of Frankenstein, or if it is meant as a remake of The Bride. as in the movie with Sting in it, which was not a good movie. I would like to see it remade, but I have questions. Either way, we've only gotten like a couple of photos from the set. I don't even know if it's from the set or if it's just some character portraits, but so far we've gotten just like 2 images. One of a character who I think is meant to be the bride, and it looks very interesting. I'm not quite sure what it's meant to be, and I don't think I will understand it until I see it in context. He's pretty. He's very pretty. And then the other image. Then the other image is the Frankenstein monster if he was the Joker from Suicide Squad. So, that's fun. That's fun for me. I don't know how to feel about it. I'm just kind of, because we don't know much of anything about it yet, I'm just kind of in this state of trust the process, where like, I don't know how Maggie Gyllenhaal is as a director. I haven't seen any of the movies she's directed. I know her primarily as an actress. I have no idea what her thoughts on Frankenstein are. I have no idea what she's gonna do with this here piece. I have no reason to doubt her. So I'm just gonna let it happen, see what it is. I mean, not like I can do anything to influence the production of a movie being made by bajillionaires over in Hollywood, so like, whatever. Yeah, we'll see what happens when it comes out. Like, 2025 is gonna be a big year for Frankenstein. I genuinely think so. Not just because of this movie, but honestly, primarily for the other one that we've got coming out. The one we've all been waiting for forever, if you are a fan of Frankenstein. Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein. I'm so excited for this movie. We've gotten a couple of photos from this film. We've got some of the laboratory. We've got a couple of like Edinburgh that they you know, made into the period piece kind of location, and some fantastic photos of Oscar Isaac in his little stripy suit. It's the first time I saw the photo, I was like, he looks ridiculous. And then like the more I looked at it, the more I'm like, it looks ridiculous, but he's kind of pulling it off. Like, I kind of really dig it. Like, in any other context, I would have so many more questions, and I'm kind of just into it. Like, I don't know if it's just Oscar Isaac's got that confidence and that quality, but I'm very excited. If there's anyone in this world who loves Frankenstein more than me, it is probably Guillermo del Toro, and I am very excited to see what he's finally, because he's been trying to make this movie for forever. Like, it went through a lot of different iterations. It was gonna be a part of the like Dark Universal situation, but then The Mummy with Tom Cruise was so bad that they scrapped the whole project, and so he couldn't do it. But finally, he is getting to do it. And yeah, no, that man loves monsters, and specifically, he loves Frankenstein. Like, honestly, if you watched his Pinocchio, that's a Frankenstein movie. Like, I think Pinocchio is a Frankenstein movie. Especially that Pinocchio. Like, even just the scene where Geppetto is making Pinocchio, like, it is full, like, Victor Frankenstein, lightning strikes and everything. Like, it is very much a Frankenstein movie. And so, like, yeah, I'm so excited to see what he's gonna get to do, what he's gonna give us. I know a lot of people are several of the, like, Frankenstein specific creators that I follow, Panthermouth, I'm looking at you, we're talking about, like, if anyone can give us the book accurate monster, it's gonna be Guillermo, and I'm ready for it. I know we kind of went on the record that we were a little disbelieving, just because when I heard because originally it was going to be Oscar Isaac and Andrew Garfield, And I thought it was Oscar Isaac as the monster, which I'm like, I'd watch that. That makes sense. That looks great. And then as it went on, I was like, no, he's Victor. And I'm like, why? Why is he Victor? He'd make a much better monster. What? And so we did tweet about that at one point. And once again, I'm in the state of trust the process. If nobody's got me, I know Guillermo's got me. So it's no longer Andrew Garfield. It is a different gentleman whose name I don't remember. I am still very interested to see how it's gonna work, how it's gonna play out. I mean, it's Guillermo del Toro. That man, like I said, that man loves Frankenstein so much, and I know he's gonna do it right. He's gonna give it its honors. So we just have to wait and see how it's gonna be, what it's gonna be. I'm excited. I can't wait. I will be screaming and crying and throwing up and seeing it on its premiere day. I'm sure. I'm gonna be insufferable about it. We'll likely do, I don't know, hell, maybe we'll do a stream when the first trailer drops and just kind of go through it and try to see what we could figure out there. But yeah, that is 2024 wrapped. For us here, we only managed to do one full Frankenfiles episode, which was the musical episode, which we're very proud of. It wound up being just shy of an hour, so you know we better be very proud of it. So we didn't get to do much in terms of show this year, but we did get to do a live stream, a couple of live. Nope, just the one live stream. Sorry. We did do a live stream over on our secondary channel, Uncanny After Hours. So if you're not aware of that channel, go check it out. You can check out the birthday live stream that we did. We played Frankenstein Through the Eyes of the Monster, a terrible video game that sucks so much. But we did have a good time playing it. We only got about maybe halfway or 2/3 of the way through that game, so technically we haven't finished it yet. So we might do another stream to finish it. We are hoping to do more streams. We recently did a stream where we just watched Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. We call it a note-taking stream, where we're getting ready for our next episode that is going to be about Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, and so we're hoping to do more kind of movie nights like that. Essentially, we do it on Hyperbeam, where you can essentially just have a group of people in a room and watch movies. So we'd like to do more stuff like that. Obviously, not much can happen until we get moved, which is still sort of a situation. We are kind of stuck. We're in between places right now, so not a lot is going to get made for a bit, so we're just going to focus on writing. We'll probably do, you'll probably be seeing some of the more book review things that we've done. You'll likely see, hopefully, more of the Hyperbeam movie streams that we like to do. In the meantime, we're just going to keep our heads down and work on the next script for the Frankenfiles. That way, as soon as we find a place to land, we'll be able to knock that out and get the next episode ready for you guys. But yeah, we're really excited for 2025 and to just kind of keep the show going and keep making more things and keep seeing more stuff and keep engaging with this weird book. Happy birthday, Frankenstein. You're looking great for 207. We love you so much. And thank you to all of you watching this. I hope you enjoyed me rambling about a couple of different pieces of media that I got to see this year. Hopefully we'll do this again next year, and we'll see if I come up with a better name than FrankenState of the Union, but you might be stuck with it. To all of you out there, from us here at the Uncanny Productions, thank you so much. Thanks for watching this. Have a great rest of your day, and have a great 2025. We'll see you in our next video.